Welcome back to Reel Blerdy. After I finished editing my first review, my marketing brain kicked in and I said, you better brand it. So here we are. I'm still trying to figure out my space, so I don't know if I'll keep doing it here or if I'll go to my desk. We'll figure that all out in due time. So this week's film follows a trio of shoplifters taking on the fashion industry in a story that links workers' rights and commercialism with a dash of science fiction. I'm excited to talk about the wild ride that is I Love Boosters. The second feature from writer-director Boots Riley. This is a comedic adventure, sci-fi caper, yes, sci-fi. And I'm honestly glad I didn't know that going in because some of the surprises had me going, what is happening? But in the best possible way. Filming an episode before I go to work. So let's talk about a little background from this movie. While pitching the film at CinemaCon's Neon panel, Riley shared the lore behind this project. He wrote a song called I Love Boosters back in 2006, and that's when he became fascinated by a world that is, in his words, somewhat on the fringes of fashion, but actually one of the motors of it. So here is the cycle he's describing. Boosters, or shoplifters, steal clothes, style them in ways the fashion industry just couldn't conceive. Then the industry takes those styles, reproduces them, and sells them back at an inflated price, and the cycle starts again. And again and again. And it actually reminded me of a line from Rent when Maureen is delivering Angel's eulogy. And she says, and I looked it up so I wouldn't mess it up, that Angel would find an old tablecloth on the street and make a dress. And sure enough, next year, they'd be mass producing it at the Gap. Big businesses profiting off the little guy. You gotta love it. America. Boots Riley also said something that stuck with me about his filmmaking. He wants to take audiences through visceral experiences, not just show them what's on screen, but make them feel like they're on an amusement park ride. He even pushed back on Scorsese's criticism of Marvel films. His take, you can push cinema and give people an amusement park ride at the same time. Bold, colorful sets, wild camera work, loads of symbolism, and yes, a teleportation device that can also deconstruct matter, and a situational accelerator. That's a sci-fi element, and it works. And all of that builds upon this amusement park ride that he created within I Love Boosters. So let's do a story recap. I'm gonna retell the movie as I remember it and as I saw it. Again, if I mess something up, please leave it in the comments because my memory's not great. Okay, so we open on Corvette, played by Keke Palmer, making her way through an Oakland nightclub after some very intense flirtation with a man the credits call Pinky Guy Ring, played by Lakeith Stanfield. She redirects her attention to another handsome man, takes him back to an apartment that is essentially a boutique, walls lined with racks of clothes and boosted fashions. He leaves with a pair of shoes and boom, we're in it. I love boosters. Okay, so Corvette, along with Mariah, played by Taylour Paige, and Sade, played by Naomi Ackie, are the Velvet Gang, and their skills are genuinely out of control. Corvette and Mariah share an old chicken joint as their home. Sade, if I'm not mistaken, is married with a kid and a house somewhere in Oakland. For all of them, boosting is honestly how they get by. We get a little bit of Corvette's backstory. She wanted to be a designer. She submitted her work to a contest by billionaire fashion designer Christy Smith, played by Demi Moore, who owns Metro Designs, the Velvet Gang's boosting location of choice. Corvette did not win that contest. So Christy Smith coined the name Velvet Gang, and on a media appearance calls them, and I'm quoting here, low-class urban bitches. And I feel like she said that with a hard R, if you know what I mean. In a lapse of fangirl judgment, Corvette hides in a coffee cart to sneak into Christy Smith's apartment, hoping to catch a glimpse of her idol. She's wearing an original design, the same design she'll later be caught on camera boosting. While hiding, Corvette overhears Christy Smith mention a $100,000 suit line that's coming to her stores. She's like, what? Okay, we gotta get these. And she tries to slip out of the apartment, but the apartment is angled, like crazy angled, and it is a hilarious bit watching her try to get out of that apartment. But she is spotted by Smith. She gives her a fake name, shares her genuine admiration, and eventually slips out. Meanwhile, that pinky ring guy just keeps popping up, and Sade tells the story of a friend who hooked up with him. Somewhere between the cunny and the lingus, he turned into a demon and literally sucked her soul out of her vagina. Got it. Anyway. At some point in time, Corvette notices that one of Smith's new designs is honestly identical to the tracksuit that she submitted to the contest. And so they were like, we got to get this. And they decide to get a job at Metro Designers. But before they can act, surveillance footage shows another woman like sucking inventory into her bag. Like it's just, she's opening her bag and everything's just going in. I'm sitting here going, huh? What? They track the lady down, and her name is, please forgive me for mispronouncing anyone's name, Zhang Yu, played by Poppy Lee. It's Poppy Lee or Poppy Lu? And she's a factory worker from China. The conditions at the Metro Designers factory honestly are horrific. Her aunt died, her mother has cancer. She and her cousin Li Pan, while exploring the factory, discovered that the factory acquired teleporters, I think from the Chinese government, only to cut down on shipping costs. So they decide to snatch up those teleporters and then go reappropriate Metro merch and hide it away and use it as leverage for better pay and better conditions. The Velvet Gang decides to work with her. Enter Violetta, a former Metro Designers co-worker who explains what the device actually does. Thank you, Violetta, for this info dump, because otherwise we'd all be confused, and I suggest watching the movie for a better explanation. But with a little help from Philosophedia.org, did you know that was a thing? And Wikipedia, here's the breakdown. The teleporter has 3 settings based on dialectical materialism, a framework that treats the physical world as primary reality and sees everything as being in constant motion, shaped by material conditions like economics and resources. Setting 1, teleportation. You already know that one. Setting 2, the situational accelerator, which heightens the conflicts already inherent in whatever it's pointed at. Setting 3, deconstruction, which breaks down whatever it touches down into the elements that made it. When Zhang Yu deconstructs some Metro clothes, a cut on her hand heals. The cost of her labor has been returned to her body. The device gave back the time and energy the factory workers put into making those garments. So they decide to test the limits of the device on a fun night out set to Makiba by Jane. You know, ooh, Makiba. You know that song. I live for a well-placed needle drop, especially when it's a song that I enjoy. One moment I remember vividly is they deconstruct a lady's shoes and she's walking on trees. I think she was wearing like wedges or something. And when they go to change them back, she's like, no, don't change them back. No one else has these. What? So the crew infiltrates a Metro Designers fashion show. They find the $100,000 suits. Turns out they're skin suits worn by media figures. Skin suits! They get away with them. Corvette wants to destroy them. Sade wants to sell them. Sade wins the argument. Corvette hands them off and she heads off to do that. Then there's this bi-continental chase, the fashion show in San Francisco, the factory in China, jumping back and forth through the teleporter as Smith's security tries to stop Corvette and Li Pan. The Velvet Gang reunites at the fashion show where Violetta has staged a protest. They use the situational accelerator to amplify it and the factory protest into full strikes. Both locations erupt at once. Time jump. A news report tells us the strikes spread globally and workers have made significant gains. Zhang Yu's mother's cancer is reversed when the clothes from the fashion show are deconstructed. She literally gets her time back. And the pink ring guy confesses he's a demon, then asks Corvette to be with him anyway. He told her true love will make him human, but he cannot perform oral sex. She declines. And I say, good on you, Corvette, if we could all make those choices. So how do I feel about this movie overall? Let me tell you, I enjoyed it, and let's talk about what I felt it means. At its core, this film is about the linked plights of workers, domestic and abroad, perpetuated by the same companies and the same billionaires. Greedy corporations cut corners. They use chemicals hazardous to factory workers' health and the environment. Workers face unsafe conditions and poverty wages. Those items get shipped across oceans, burning fossil fuels, then sold at absurd markups to consumers, who in some cases are the very employees required to buy from the store they work at with minimal discounts. We saw that in the movie where Will Poulter's character tells the store workers that they have to get new clothes because they're wearing last year's fashions. The teleporter's deconstruction setting is a literal embodiment of labor theory. The idea that value in a product is the human labor embedded in it. When Zhang Yu's cut heals after deconstructing a garment, it visualizes something abstract in the most visceral sci-fi way possible. The film also doesn't shy away from racism. Yes, the Velvet Gang is boosting, but notice there is a scene where they have to bring in a white woman to pull attention off of them in the store. And colorism gets its own scene with light-skinned Mariah played by Robin Thede? Robin. She's hilarious. In that moment, it made me choke on my popcorn. One of the film's most memorable visual devices is a rolling ball of bills and anxieties. It followed Corvette through the streets of San Francisco. It's her financial terror made physical, and by the end of the film, the boulder is shrunk to something that she can carry, something she can manage. And I think that image is doing a lot of work. It's her arc compressed into a visual metaphor. Then there's the fact that Mariah and Corvette live in an old chicken joint. They have a whole apartment that's fitted out like a retail space, but home is the chicken joint. The smell of fried chicken lingers through multiple scenes. That has to mean something, right? And so I was thinking, maybe it's about craving what's no longer there. Maybe it's nostalgia as comfort and a trap. I'd love to know what you think. And the demon, Lakeith Stanfield's pinky guy ring is fascinating, right? So maybe he's the person we want, but we just know it's not good for us. Charming, attentive, present everywhere. Corvette keeps her distance, and when she finds out that making him human requires her to fall in love with him without receiving oral sex, she dips. And honestly, growth. Sci-fi tech, a demon, a building-sized stress boulder, and workers' rights across continents. Boots Riley took all of that and made something genuinely thrilling, deeply funny, and politically urgent. I Love Boosters earns an A from me. Okay, so did I miss anything? What are your thoughts on the symbolism, the chicken joint, the boulder, the demon? What's your read on the teleporter in general? Let's talk about it in the comments. And stay tuned for my next video. I'll be covering Masters of the Universe. It's no She-Ra, but my inner child was absolutely hyped. And remember, watch more movies. See y'all next time.